Across the tracks. Across the tracks. It's time to go. We're going across the tracks. Okay, let's get going here. We're going to go with Hawksley Workman, Across the Tracks. And I want to thank you for coming on and taking some time in your super busy schedule, because you're a busy guy. You're touring right now as a duo, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I've been my main piano man, Mr. Lonely, is what he's affectionately referred to on stage and off stage. I guess now he's been called Mr. Lonely for about 25 years. We've played together since day one, and he's seen me at my best and at my absolute worst. And honestly, it's an unbelievable kind of relationship that I'm lucky to have. His name is Todd Lumley, and he's really one of the great piano players in the country. And I get to sort of hang around and be his friend, and then I also get to be on stage with him on the regular. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and when you're traveling as a duo and not a band, typically that means, to me anyway, that the lyrics have to come out front. And well,
that's absolutely right. I mean, I feel like in a way, as I get older, I find any of the lyrical artists that I really love, I'm always a little bit disappointed when I show up to the gig and see that there's a full band set up, which when I was a kid, I would have felt the opposite. You know, I would have thought, I always want to go to see a raucous show, but I've been realizing lately, I just saw Sarah Harmer and Kathleen Edwards both here in Peterborough over the last year, and I preferred kind of when the band left the stage and I could hear the lyrics clearly, because great lyric writers, that's not necessarily the thing that the world is after at the moment. And so it's when you do get to hear somebody who's got a unique and lovely way with a turn of phrase, then yeah, you want that to be front and center.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because let's talk Less Rage, More Tears, your 2020 record. And I'd like to do a deep dive into some of the lyrics in those songs there, if you're willing to do all that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that record there, given that it was released sometime in the fall of 2020,
yep.
Seems to be that it was affected by the pandemic of the day and that whole thing. I'd like to start with the song Name the Strays. It seems to be kind of at the center of this, because you name that phrase in another song.
Yeah.
And the whole record, Less Rage, More Tears. Just give me the overarching thoughts.
Well, I'll tell you that it was released in the pandemic, but it was written before there was such thing as a pandemic. So it was written in Montreal shortly after I finished writing my Median Age Wasteland record. And I guess there was, I tend to be overly involved, I think, with what's going on in the world. And I'm one of those kind of concerned citizen types, though I do feel that I achieve a lot more inner peace and happiness when I unplug from the news and what have you. But the Name the Strays thing, I guess, it almost feels like a bit of a Christian meditation somehow or other, that I've always felt, even within my own writing, that the benign and the forgettable become sort of they play a starring role in my music. I think that by virtue of growing up in the late 20th century, as I did, my pre-internet life would have been one with much less distraction and a much more focus growing up in rural Ontario, with the benign and the banal, yet also sort of profound occurrences that happen when you're somebody who's intrinsically related to the nature that surrounds you. And I was lucky to be raised by parents and grandparents who were very keen on the watching birds coming and going with the seasons, and being very in touch with how the rhythms and the symmetry of how seasons played out and how the animals came and went. It was just elemental. And I think, again, growing up at the time I was in the pre-distraction era, and growing up where I did, north of Muskoka, I had no real choice but to be sort of to have a sense of my surroundings, my natural surroundings, just sewn into who I am.
You mentioned the Christian element to the singing. It's not often I see Jesus in so many songs like I do. The song Name the Strays, it's in there. And then around here, again, you actually use the phrase, and it's a song of, sounds to me like human failures. And tell me a little bit of, it's about love one another. It's a gloomy record on the whole, but there's something, certainly messages are positive there. Clearly you're going for that, and thank you.
Yeah, well, Adrian, it's so lovely to do an interview with somebody who's listened to the lyrics. I mean, honestly, there's not many interviews left in the world, and certainly not many where I'm getting asked lovely questions like that. And, I remember having this discussion with Sarah Slean, who's a music and songwriter pal of mine and who has her own illustrious career. And I had sort of said out loud something about, I'm just trying to rage less and have more tears. And quite honestly, it was sort of a sentiment that I really started to key into watching my dad, who was kind of he had some anger in him, and I watched him mellow as he got older. And instead of, when he would kind of go red-faced and angry, over time he would just respond with tears to everything. And I realized, even as I was getting older, that I was raging less and crying more. And in a way, like when I mentioned that to Sarah, and she's like, you just got to call the record that. So you're right. There's a lot of that human failure piece in the record, but also I think that when I think of that record, I think I hear the version of myself that was very heavily invested in the idea of victimhood, which I think was sort of a fashionable thing that came from afternoon television in the 90s. I think you had the Oprahs and the Donahues, and they were sort of informing, the housewives that, to sort of, and to invest heavily in the status of your victimhood. And, I mean, I see that now in modern culture in a kind of way that scares me, but I feel like I've gotten very much out of the business of that. And it's been a lot to do with looking at the great sort of Stoic thinkers and investing a little bit more in the idea that life happens for you, not to you. And I feel like the transition of my sort of like my victim era character into my sort of, my middle-aged fellow who is much more willing to see the responsibility piece in the version of life I want to live now. The Christian piece, I feel like, is an ongoing, it's an ongoing relationship, aspects of trying to join this modern life and trying to buy into some of the tenets of modernity that I just don't feel agree with me fundamentally. But yeah, the Christian piece is ongoing, and I feel like a lot of the people I listen, a lot of thinkers I'm interested in are also sort of reinvesting in the idea of a Christianity past the aesthetic sort of relationship to it. Only that it feels like, as I sort of wander into this 21st century, I'm so grateful that I have some of the glued underpinnings have kind of come from this time, and that feels rather mystical to me from my youth, when I was hearing about these Bible stories and singing these songs. And there's aspects to the fundamentals in Christianity that just speak very loudly to me now, especially at a time where it feels like there's a sort of a jettisoning of certain kind of, I don't know, some of the historical features from our culture. I'm just, I kind of am in my own relationship in general with, my thought habits and generally being questioning kind of where the tribe is headed, and if I have a tribe anymore. And some days I feel like I do, and some days I feel like I don't.
Yeah, it's refreshing that somebody is that open, because people freak out when they hear the word Jesus, and even they clam up. They don't want to talk. And we all grew up, and when I say we all grew up, I'm talking millennia here.
I know.
Where it was always equating to the truth, right? That's where the truth starts. And I got a kick somehow or other. You find a way to make things. I find a little bit funny, which is. I'm talking here good old fashioned acid rain, like, all of the disasters that are going on now. It's like, boy, just give me the good old fashioned acid rain when it was simple. And you say something there about, can Jesus even help where we are right now? It's gotten so out of control here. Tell me about that a little bit. And again, you're going back to your childhood, and you just talked about that and growing up in a pretty idyllic situation by the sounds of it.
It was an idyllic situation, and I mean, I think that the Indigo Girls have a great song called "Kid Fears," and I think the lyric sort of boils down to what I wouldn't give for my kid fears, and in a way, I think about my kid fears, and there were many. I think I was a fearful kid. To this day, I sort of have to enter into an ongoing negotiation with absurd fears that show up here and there, and sort of infringe on my ability to stay peaceful inside. But I think that there was some of the conundrums of fear that were sort of available to us in the 1980s were the fact that we knew that there was some sort of Cold War going on between the Soviet Union and America at the time. And I remember feeling like that stuff was very much in the public consciousness. I remember going to school and being on the bus and thinking about nuclear war, but also some of these ideas around environmentalism started to become very, very present. And maybe too, because I was sort of a thoughtful kid and was prone to cynicism, and also in some ways was one of those sort of truth-seeking types from sort of my earliest memories. I look at some of the aspects of what it was being, either whether I was being propagandized too mildly back then, or whether I was, sort of fishing around for my own, for the details that would sort of make up my own truth. There was an innocence, at the very least, in the late 20th century that predated the internet that, honestly, I've been saying it on stage every night in England. I was saying how much I miss that era of my life, and I honestly think there's been an enormous amount lost in this hubbub, and a mania that we're sort of. I don't know if anybody really asked for this. I don't know if we as a humanity could have sat and said, look, there's this train that's coming at us and we're sort of tied to the tracks here. How do we feel about this? And you could probably say the same thing about AI, and you could probably say the same thing about quantum computing. It's almost like we get this stuff whether we like it or not. Is it creating, something that is surmountably better for the human condition? I'm not so sure. I sort of feel like I see a lot of judgment and hatred in the world coming from all sides of any political spectrum or any political tribe. And I feel like the noise and the disharmony and the inability to hear ideas anymore, it's striking me as something that is very concerning. And again, it sort of rubs against the instincts that I had as a young social justice kid in the 1980s, thinking about the issues that were put on the table for me then, simple stuff like, animal testing and just general environmentalism, before those notions were even sort of replaced by this carbon version of whatever this environmental obsession is. It's there's things that are interesting to me and things that I feel like we're maybe starting to leave the path of virtue here. But again, this is just some fella in Peterborough, Ontario, waxing aloud to you. So.
Whatever happened to good old-fashioned acid rain? What's he gonna say to you? What's he gonna say to me? I don't already loathe in myself.
Well, you know, pre-internet does feel like just a dream. It really does.
Yeah.
And people that didn't grow up in the 80s, I mean, if you're growing up in the 90s, 0 to 10 age, you really don't have that. So we're talking people 30, 35, 40 years old now that don't know pre-internet. And the world has become strangely, predictably unpredictable, and we're just not shocked by anything, which we should be. We should be alarmed. You bring up things that we should be alarmed about, and we don't. We just move on. You ask a great question there. Do we even want to live forever? When it used to be a dream, like I want to live forever. Now it's like, you know what? I just want to do my time and get out. Talk to that.
Yeah, man, that's so heavy that you would. I mean, I just got a chill with you sort of, you know, crystallizing that idea around that lyric. And I'm not even sure at the time I knew exactly what I was saying, but hearing you say that makes me realize that must have been sort of what my inner cellular truth mechanism was trying to fire out. And, you know, there are simple things to me that go back to some of the tenets that I would have hung my hat on as a kid around ideas around freedom of speech and ideas around anti-war, things like, you know, fighting for the working classes. These are things to me that were elemental to my personal political disposition. And I even felt in a way like those things hearken very closely to what would have been some of the easiest reach tenets around my Christian life as a kid too. These things to me were somewhat interchangeable. And even some of these aspects today seem like they're up for debate. And quite frankly, I'm stunned by it. I feel like I'm seeing things happen in my lifetime that I couldn't ever have imagined. And it's a very strange and sad thing, I guess. You know, I am ultimately happier when I am just trying to create my own inner universe to be a peaceful and magical place where I can really believe in the authenticity of creation and the authenticity of great ideas and pursuing some kind of truth. When I have calm in me, it's the greatest wonder of all. And sometimes I'll get addicted to disrupting that calm by chasing down things on the internet that are lugubrious, scary, you know, some of the untenable things you see. For whatever reason, that addiction kicks in and I go looking for it. But yeah, I know I'm a little bit all over the map here, Adrian, but I'll say this, is that on the road, it's a blessed place for me. I don't spend any time looking at Twitter. I don't spend any time really investing in the world of news or propaganda or whatever version of you want to believe is sort of out there affecting you. I get to have this 24-hour repetitive rhythm where I get to drive, see beautiful things, meet beautiful people. I get to sing my set, the 90 minutes, and connect with other humans in the most authentic way I know how to. And by the end of all that, I'm falling asleep at night in a place of almost pure gratitude for the wonder that is the life I get to live. And really, when I deviate from any of that thinking, that's when I start to get into trouble. And just quickly, I wanted to talk a little bit about too what we had said about the growing up in the, you know, the Christian millennia, as you call it, how that sort of was elemental to the, you know, to like you say, a couple thousand years of life and as we sort of would understand it. And I often think about, as a kid, I was impressed by things that had a mystical quality. And when I think about bowing your head for the Lord's Prayer when I was a kid, just the mere fact that we engaged through the 1980s, every day of my childhood experience, I bowed my head and closed my eyes and engaged in a mystical prayer. And even just the fact that it sets your day up for a sense that what you're about to engage with, even as a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, when I'd open my eyes from that prayer, when I would consider that I would forgive my friends for trespassing on me, as I would hope that they would forgive me for trespassing on them. Some of these ideas and notions so lofty that they almost can't be contained by a 7 or 8-year-old brain, but you know that there's some kind of resonance of deep truth there. I mean, I can understand in some ways why this was removed from schools, but I also think that the removal of mystical ritual from the North American experience or the Western experience I do think we're losing something. And I wish we had a way to sort of carefully talk about how we maintain some of this mystical, how we maintain a connection to what is mystical in our lives. And because I think we're really losing something, and it's not necessarily religion I'm talking about. I'm talking about a connection to something spiritual that that will resonate more deeply than what we're sort of sold on the surface in this sort of I don't know, even we're living in this new internet age. There's I think we're moving further and further away from some of these things that are that ring so clearly of truth, you know.
Walkman and a BMX, we both know what happens next. Before God created sex, there was just a dream, just a dream. Black and white and local news, Wrangler jeans and Jordache shoes. Twisted sister sings the blues. It was just a dream, just a dream. Who wants a hero who's obtainable? Or do we really even care? Tiny little Egyptian kings really know how to mess up things. We all want attachment without strings, but it's just a dream, just a dream. Do you wanna live forever? Do you wanna go get high? Do you wanna burn it all down before we even try? School council presidents all lie about the things we'll get. Some join wars and some forget. It was just a dream, just a dream. May all your dreams be ever wet, and all your stumbles heaven sent. It all feels like we lost a bet. It was just a dream, just a dream. Who wants a hero who's attainable? Or do we really even care? We want a beauty that's sustainable, and a love that's truly rare. Do you wanna live forever? Do you wanna go get high? Do you wanna
Yeah, it is a lost opportunity. The internet had tons of promise, but it seems like a lost opportunity, and has created a disconnect to the spiritual life that you're talking about. You wouldn't hear it here. I'm going to edit that out, but I would have probably played Young and Wasted just before this. And we all, it's an opportunity. We all kind of go through that. And some people, especially in this day and age, get stuck in the wasted part. The young part is about growing and learning. And one of the things you should learn about is stop getting wasted, and time is precious. And with the opiate crisis worldwide, I'm sure you see that wherever you travel from. And from the stage, you must somehow try to get this message to the young folks.
Yeah. Well, there was some years where I drank fairly heavily. And I think that it was part of an aesthetic that I had assembled for myself around the dark, brooding, chin-stroking artist whose misanthropy is beautiful and honorable, and is sort of this. And what ends up happening, I think, when you engage in misanthropy, and I feel like I did for a lot of years, it's a removal from any responsibility to tenderness and love for your fellow human, and it also tends to disregard the personal experience that the individual is having. It's so easy to put people in a group and toss them away as a single package. And I think the inner lives of many people are complex and dynamic. And I think the more we sort of tribalize, and the more we are willing to categorize and jettison people for whatever they may think or whatever they may engage in, I think that we're losing the dynamism that is our differences, and how our differences create they create something that is important for us to understand in the individual experience, I guess.
ourselves in empty hotel bars, fish islands, distortion, and hating who we are. It's our dirty little secret. We love to celebrate like a national holiday. We're screaming through shut bathroom doors like enemies. We were both so beautiful, so young and wasted, so young and wasted. They were both so beautiful, so young and wasted, so young and wasted. Look me in the eyes, don't look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes, don't look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes, don't look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes. We were both so beautiful, so young and wasted, so young and wasted. They were both so beautiful, so young and wasted, so young and wasted. We were both so beautiful, so young and wasted, so young and wasted. They were both so beautiful, so young and wasted, so young and
You know, your song about slow suicide, that's kind of the life that we're living through others and not living inside our own spirits. That's a heavy tune there, Slow Suicide.
You know, so the Slow Suicide by Wine, I feel like in that misanthropic era of mine, I was quite satisfied to think that I was going to drink myself to death one day, and that would be just fine, because I probably was a lot more engaged in an atheistic sense that, you know, there was no life after the life I was living, and that life was mostly pain and suffering, and, you know, everything was going to turn to shit anyways, so why should I bother? And, you know, obviously the person I am today and the version of myself that I celebrate being is completely antithetical to that modality. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say it, that I was that person for so long. And it's not to say that I'm not against drinking and drugs and all that stuff. I mean, I wrote a play called The God That Comes, which was a celebration of the myth of the Bacchae and bacchanalian behavior. And so I feel like in many ways I've gone well down that garden path, and I don't begrudge anybody. But what I do think is the idea of waste, like you brought up. I think that if we re-engage with our own personal responsibilities, if we let go of the idea of this victim narrative that we're sort of being heavily peddled to right now, and realize that we are in charge of ourselves, we are in charge of our hearts, we're in charge together of creating the reality that we want to make together. To me, this means that every person on this planet is in a partnership with creating something that is going to be more positive and tenable to all the constituents and humans that are here. I know that we're in a time where there is going to be great discovery. I mean, I already feel like we're, just by virtue of where quantum physics is and some of the things we're finding out about the fact that there does seem to be, you know, unidentified flying objects, and I guess I'm someone who came from sort of this funny, somewhat devoted, whether it was aesthetic or not, Christian life as a kid. Like, I'm very open to the fact that there's an abundance of miracles going on, and I feel like we're seeing an almost pointed enormity of darkness. And I think that the darkness we're seeing on this planet at the moment is because there really is truly a flood of light happening. And just like when you turn the lights on, and like in your first apartment, you see all those bugs scatter, and I feel like the bugs are scattering right now, because I do feel like there's a flood of light on the planet. And it feels like, oh my God, I've never seen this much darkness in my entire life. But I sort of have this firm belief that darkness is only made obvious by the fact that there is such an intense light being shined on the world right now. And I think that we have that chance as a thoughtful spiritual species to move into a place where we can truly take up the mantle of something that's extraordinary, I think, and probably what it was that we were meant to do all along.
We'll lock ourselves next to the dallies in the Peggy Guggenheim Museum. They can go to hell. I'm done listening, and I don't care if I ever see them. Don't paint me strange, don't paint me strange. Just because you think I lost conviction, just get me and my wife, get me and my wife on a flight to somewhere in Italy, on a flight to somewhere in Italy. Slow suicide by slow suicide. Savings into silver and bought a few deer skins of Chianti. We won't read the news, we'll just be dreaming, the kind you get on the Ligurian Sea. Don't think I'm insane, don't think I'm insane. It's just that my wife and I would like to die on our stereotype if we could in Italy. Slow suicide by slow suicide. What if it's weak to grow old? What if it's weak to grow old? What if it's weak? What if it's weak? Suicide by wine. Slow suicide by wine. Slow suicide.
So I have a kind of a little bit of a strange question along the lines of what you're talking about, getting into deeper issues and your relationship to the Walkman.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of is the same thing, right? When you put the Walkman on back in the day of the Walkman, now it's earbuds, etc. But it was meditative time, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an area that we probably should get back to, metaphorically, the Walkman, and to that alone time.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's a fascinating image that you paint there, because in some ways I can look at how the whole world is in their own headspace, in their own set of headphones right now. And in the 1980s, the idea that you could have a personal relationship to music. I mean, of course, my dad had a headset that went with our stereo, so we could listen to records on headphones, of course. But the idea of being able to walk freely with music through the woods, and I remember having an almost religious experience listening to a U2 song called A Sort of Homecoming on the prairies in Canada on the first tour I ever did when I was 18. It is, but the idea of meditation in and of itself, I think, as the noise cranks up on this planet, I think that the meditative or the richness, that contemplative thing that we should really be celebrating that. And just kind of like I had said earlier about the Lord's Prayer, it's almost like we were set up in the 1980s with a meditative ritual. And I'm not sure what meditative rituals are left anymore, and that might not be poo-pooed. But, I think what you're getting at is 100% true. And my wife and I both were kind of we went through the process of learning meditative practices, and some days I'm great at keeping a rhythm of that, and some days I'm not. But we definitely need to be searching for some kind of inner peace that we can call our own on the daily basis, on an hourly basis, I would say, because I think there are so many things vying to destabilize our inner mechanisms and to keep us sad, angry, and in disharmony with one another. And I think the more you can put in the way of that wanton commercial exhaustion, the better.
The music in there sounds like a washing machine of making acid jeans.
Yeah.
I don't want to be me. How does it feel to downhill ski in acid wash jeans? And I don't want to be cruel, but it seems like a pretty freaky thing to go and do. Go and do. And on a Saturday when you're in your bed, comical lodged in your poor little head, when you're playing all the conversations and all the little things you say you never said, what can you say, what can you say? Immersion girls will always be out of reach. Be out of reach. I don't want to offend, but sometimes my Sony Discman is my only friend. Is my only friend. just be friends? Do what friends will do. Overrated me, overrated you. Be a family, do what families do. Overrated me, overrated you. Be a family, do what families do. Overrated me, overrated you. Can we just be friends? Do what friends will do.
Couple more questions and then I'll let you go, man. This has been great. I certainly, in the record, I find there is joy. I find the joy in the lyrics when you go back and really, when you go back, I don't know if it's really nostalgia, but certainly you seem to have great childhood memories. And to think Gorbachev and Reagan, you had mentioned them earlier, that was hope when the USSR dismantled, and that was happening. And you relate that to Tahiti, and I'm just trying to make that connection. What is that about the Tahiti treat? Have you been to Tahiti?
No, but Tahiti Treat was this terrible soda pop from the 1980s that so that's just me sort of waxing nostalgic. I love to do that. I love to borrow these ghastly ideas from the 1980s and kind of repurpose them. It's that song, My Tahiti Treat, My Bermuda Triangle. It's all these sort of fascinations. My mom was a health nut, and we weren't allowed to have any kind of pop or chips or chocolate bars except for very, very rare and special occasions. And I remember one time getting to drink a can of Tahiti Treat at a bowling alley at a birthday party, and it just being I could tell that I was drinking something that was disgusting and wonderful all at the same time. And so, I feel like I live in the crux of those dualities. I love when something is disgusting and wonderful. I love when something doesn't settle in me in an absolute capacity. I like when things have that movability to them.
I'm going to play out the last song I'm going to play on this is Dwindling Beauty. And there's one thing, as much as it's a gloomy world painted in Less Rage, More Tears, the album, there certainly are a lot of things in there that are worth fighting for. And beauty, ultimately, there's a video of yours where there are two, I'm going to call them Muskokan chairs on the water there, and then ducks come by. And you just can't deny beauty like that in the midst of all the ugly that's out there, that if you allow it to come in, and then two ducks go by and you're on the water. The truth is really out there. We just got to pay more attention to it. And the whole message, again, it's that crux you're just talking about of the yin and the yang of something, and it depends on what path you want to take. But the beauty is not really dwindling, is it?
I think that was, like I said, that was some of the final sediment of my old misanthropic mindset. Even the lyric that later comes in that song about let's fake our deaths together. Like, yeah. I feel like I've had a desire to want to run away and escape. And I think in that song, I think you've really kind of nailed it. Like, in the dwindling beauty, let the boredom kill. Like, it's the last vestiges of a version of myself that even, and I've been singing that song on this tour, and I love a lot about the lyrics. But like many things written through that lens, that misanthropic lens, I don't relate to it in the same way. There's moments where I'm like, do I have some sort of like responsibility to not sing these songs, or like these songs did come from me. They do represent a version of myself. Whether I think that was the best version or not, when I sort of regurgitate these lyrics and sing them over and over again, they become a meditation. They start to sort of morph and possibly change in the way that I understand them. But everything you've said about these lyrics is so thoughtful, and I'm grateful to even hear that there's somebody out there who's paying that close of attention. So, yeah, in the dwindling beauty, no, I'm with you. I think beauty is ever present, and I think it's very easy to see. It's that we're blinded by convenience. We're blinded by the mayhem of a modern existence, which is sort of predicated on snarky repartee on the internet and distrust of your neighbor fundamentally for what they may or may not believe. And these are things that, as a kid growing up in the sticks, I knew that, I could sense that my dad's, political vision might have been different from the neighbors, but I didn't ever see that was a disruptive feature or force in the way that our community would come together if it came time to go to church, or if it came time to have an apple day for Cubs and Scouts. There's something about what happened in the late 20th century there, even despite the Walkman and music videos and synthesizers being all of a sudden sort of a predominant element in popular music. Like, I thought at the time I was living at the fulcrum of modernity, but really my childhood looked a lot more like my grandparents than kids who are growing up today, I think.
The universe is trying to tell me nothing. I think we both feel it'd be best if we walked away. And all the wives are drinking with their husbands, like they've run out of anything good to say. for goodness sake. Twindling beauty at the bottom kill. Oh, I wish I had the answer. In the twindling beauty at the bottom kill. Oh, I wish I could. Let's make our deaths together. Let's make our deaths together. Twindling beauty at the bottom kill. At the bottom kill. Twindling beauty at the bottom kill. Oh, I wish I had the answer. In the twindling beauty at the bottom kill. Oh, I wish I could. Let's make our deaths together. Let's make our deaths together. Twindling beauty at the bottom kill. At the bottom kill. Twindling beauty at the bottom kill. Oh, I wish I had the answer. In the twindling beauty at the bottom kill. Oh, I wish I could. Let's make our deaths together. Let's make our deaths together. Twindling beauty at the bottom kill. At the bottom kill.
Listen, Hawksley, thanks so much for this, man. You really are super talent. I mean, you play all the instruments, you sing, you produce it, you write it. You're the technician. You do some acting. I'm not much of a fashion guy, but you're certainly a fashion-forward guy. I watched all these videos, and my wife would love your collection of eyeglasses. And yeah, just thanks so much for coming on and getting deep on the tracks with me. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Are you kidding me? This has been the best interview I've done all year. So I'm so pleased that you're out there and that you're creating a show for people that still has deep authenticity and goodness in it. So bless you and keep on keeping on.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care.
We've gone across the tracks. This has been a Borderline Entertainment production.